doesn't make any sense. So it basically creates difficulties instead helping users to do not make mistakes using the printer. So remove this feature, please. Okay, so we have this problem on Creality Print 4, then they migrate that to Creality Print 5, and it doesn't work on 5. Creality Print 5. You may know that this software is already available for a couple weeks, maybe more than a month now. And this is the software that Creality launched a couple weeks ago, trying to migrate their platform from Cura Slicer to the Orca Slicer, trying to work around on the bunch of complaints about Creality Print 4. And on this video, I will talk about my experience using the Creality Print 5 during almost 4 weeks now, and all the problems I'm facing with this software, and giving my personal opinion about if you should or not use the Creality Print 5 at this moment. So keep tuning on this video because I have a lot of good information to talk to you about the Creality Print 5. Okay, so let's invent. Hello inventors, welcome to the channel, and today we will talk about the Creality Print 5. That it's basically a try of Creality to migrate from Cura Slicer core to the Orca Slicer core. It's basically a change of platform on the software matter. So what Creality tried to do is to migrate to a software that it's basically the trending software right now on the market, because everybody loves Orca Slicer, especially because of its interface, that it's a friendly interface with a lot of interesting features, even not having the best background algorithm. I don't really like so much the results of Orca Slicer. I think that are other softwares on the market that can deliver better results. Even Cura, even not liking so much the interface of Cura, but it's a good software, it's a good engine to slice printing jobs, but we have a lot of other softwares that it's not the case on this video. Let's talk about the Creality Print 5, okay? So Creality tries to migrate from Cura core and bring all the features they had on the Cura core and put those features over the Orca software, okay? And that didn't work so well, that didn't work properly like probably they wanted. So I'd like to talk about some bad experience I had using the Creality Print 5, and I have a great list here. So let's start making something very clear here. I'm using the latest version on the moment that I'm recording this video. I'm using the latest version of Creality Print 5. So all the bugs I will show you on this video are updated, okay? So they're all updated bugs. So in the future, if you are watching this video, please pay attention to the publishing date on right below here to make sure that if those bugs have been fixed. So please don't swear me on the comments, okay? So let's start with the pressure advanced calibration. So this is not a bug properly, but on the Creality Print 5, they basically removed options we have on the Orca Slicer. So on Creality Print 5, we have just 2 options to calibrate the pressure advance, and they remove one of the most interesting tests, that it's a test that prints V lines on the bed, and then you can analyze not only the straight lines but the curves, where you can have that extra amount of filaments right on the curves that makes that rounded curves instead a straight corner when you are printing your parts on your 3D printer. So I don't know why they removed those tests, but I'd like to have that, because on Orca I love that V lines test, because it's the most complete, simple, and very, very fast to run on the printer. So the second one, it's a weird behavior when you are sending a print through the network. So you have that window where you select the printer and then you click to send the print, and that window doesn't close automatically, forcing you to click on the X button at the top to keep using the slicer, especially if you are calibrating and working on a lot of different parts and preparing a lot of different prints to send to the printer. So you have to keep closing that windows. It sounds like a stupid consideration, but this enter on the usability, and I'm trying to talk to you gradually from the smallest problems and going into the hardest or the most grave problems, and I will get on the most irritating and problematic issue in a couple minutes. Okay, so third one, the bug of bad leveling. Aha! I have a project that I will bring on this channel in a couple days that consists into electrical passing box, and when I import the STL file into the bed and I try to leveling the face of the object to the bed, the Creality Print 5 simply can't leveling the object. It keeps the object a little bit out of the level of the bed, and then when I try to fix that manually, trying to rotate 0.04 degrees to make the object perfectly aligned to the bed, even doing that, when I try to print that part, the printer tries to print the first level on a different level of the bed, like it prints on the air. It's so high compared to the bed that the printer literally starts printing on the air, and on the other side of that part, the nozzle almost scratched the bed. So it's not just about the leveling, the object leveling on the bed, but it's about how the slicer it's generating the G code and sending that G code to the printer. So it's a very grave bug. The only way to fix this problem is importing the STL file into Orca and then leveling the part with the bed and then exporting the STL again on the right position and then importing into Creality Print 5. So this was the only way I found to fix the problem and keep using the Creality Print 5, where I had the filament profiles, even having another problem that I will talk very soon. So the other one is the auto layout. This one, it's very irritating problem. If you already used Orca Slicer, you know that it's awesome software when we are talking about the interface and usability. Like if you import a lot of different objects at the same time into your project and then you click on auto layout, you will see the objects being arranged all around the number of beds you need to send that print to your printer. So on the Creality Print 5, I passed through some problems, and this example I'm showing on the screen show you the import of 3 identical STLs, and then when you click on auto layout, every time you click on that button, the Creality Print 5 behaves in a different way, like a random action. One time it just make 2 parts disappears, then you click again, then it took one part and put on another bed, then you click again, then it splits on 3 beds. It's a kind of a crazy behavior and a very annoying bug, because if you are in a hurry and then you just want to import your STL into the software and then auto layout and slice and print, you must keep arranging the objects manually on the bed, and basically Orca has that feature built in, and it works very well. That bug only occurs on the Creality Print. Even on FlashForge Orca version, it works very well. It works perfectly as on Orca. So on Creality Print 5, it's a very annoying, problematic bug because it affects your productivity when you are printing. So the parameters changing updates. Okay. Sometimes during this test period, I was working for a couple hours using the Creality Print, and then without any kind of explanation, Creality Print just stopped releasing or enabling the slice plate button after changing a parameter on the printing profile or the filament profile. So every time you change a parameter, that button must be enabled again so you can update the slicing, because the parameter change, the printing must change. So when the Creality Print 5 start behaving like that, you must to move again to the preparation tab, and then you must to move a little bit the part on the bed so the button will enable again. Then you click on enable, then you go to the preview tab, then you change another parameter, you must back to the preparation tab and then move the part on the bed. This is very, very annoying and unproductive bug that can exhaust your patient when you are trying to slice and calibrate something, or you are trying to make small tuning and analyze how the temperature is on each layer or how the speed is on each layer. So every time you must do that, and then to start over, probably you will need to close the Creality Print 5 and then open again and then start over everything again. And in some cases, even saving the project, when you try to open again, it doesn't save the project properly. It opens the STL on the wrong position, and then you must to make all the adjustments again. It's like a nightmare. So let's talk about the filament profile. On Creality Print 4, we already had some very unnecessary feature, unnecessary behavior. That is, every time you calibrate a filament, Creality Print try to link the filament profile with the printer model. Basically, if you consider that K1 and K1 Max, for example, are different printers, but they have basically the same mechanical components, and in my case, the filament profile, it's almost the same between these two printers. And even with K1C, you can make small adjustments, but basically the calibration is the same. Like you print the flow calibration, the max flow calibration, the pressure advanced calibration, and then you spend filaments, time, everything to calibrate the one specific brand and type of filament to that printer. Then when you want to use on another printer very similar like K1 and K1 Max, you must to export and then change the printer profile, then import the filament profile into that printer. This is on the case of Creality Print 4. But on Creality Print 5, Creality basically made a favor that turning it even more difficult to have the good results, because when you try to export the profile of filament of a part, then you try to import only the file. I mean, when you export, it exports a zip file. Then if you try to uncompress that file and import only the configuration file, Orca doesn't recognize that file. Then when you try to import the zip file again, this is very, very weird, because like I'm exporting from K1, and then when I change the printer profile and then try to import into the K1 Max, it changes again to K1 automatically when trying to parse the config file. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to export the filament profile from K1 and importing into the K1 Max, to do not have to move each one of the calibration parameters manually into the other printer. And then it changes again to K1, making basically impossible to migrate filament profiles from one model to another model. And this is a productivity issue that, for me at least, makes the Creality Print 5 almost unusable on the daily basis. So if you try to use this same feature on Orca, you don't even have the necessity of exporting profiles, because from the point where you create a filament profile, you can use that same filament profile on any other printer you have configured on your Orca Slicer. It's easy. So it's your responsibility to name the filament profile like, oh, this is the Pack G profile from the brand X to use on K1 or K1C or FlashForge or any other printer. So why Creality? Why did you lock the filament profile with the printer model? It doesn't make any sense. So it basically creates difficulties instead helping users to do not make mistakes using the printer. So remove this feature, please. Okay, so we have this problem on Creality Print 4, then they migrate that to Creality Print 5, and it doesn't work on 5. So simply doesn't work because you can't migrate when you are importing again. Okay, now let's keep talking about the filament profile. I know most people don't like to calibrate filaments, but in most cases, if you don't do that, you will not have the best results using some brand of filaments with a specific printer. Even using bamboo or flash forge that are way easier, and there are printers that can basically print a part with a great quality using the default filament profile, you were not using or printing with the best speed and the best quality of that filament. So making the tuning of the filament profile will help you to have the best speeds, the best quality using that filament with that printer, even being a bamboo or a flash forge or any other brand that it's basically more automatic than Creality printers. But on Creality printers, I feel the necessity of doing calibration more often than any other printer. And on Creality Print 4, it's easy to calibrate and it's easy to manage the filament profile, except for the fact that you have to export and then import, whatever. Okay. On Creality Print 5, we have a lot of other bugs. Like at some point using Creality Print 5, you start calibrating a custom filament profile, and then without any kind of explanation, my personal filament profile just jumped from the personal filament profile into the system filament profiles. And then when the software does that, I just lost the possibility to keep customizing that profile. And even worse, I can delete that because it's part of the system profiles, and I'm not allowed to change that system profiles. And then when I try to remove that, going to the filament management profiles, I can't find that on the list. I just have a lot of different profiles that Creality sent by default inside the software. And then I try to disable that, some filaments that I'm not using. When I did that, I simply messed up everything. So the filaments has gone, the filaments that I remove, but my filament jumps to the user groups. But when I click on an ABS profile, for example, or a PETG, that profile is not a PETG, it's a PLA. That Creality moves again into the user group profiles, but it lost everything I calibrate. It lost everything I input on that filament profile. And even worse, because after doing that, when I get back into the filament management, I can see a lot of orphan profiles marked as indefinite profiles into the list. And when I try to delete that, some of those profiles, that indefinite profiles, are linked to my personal profiles. And then when I try to delete that, I just delete my personal profiles. Simply a mess. It's simply something that unusable on the daily basis because I lost hours trying to calibrate profiles. And then when I basically making just small adjustments, small fine tunings, Creality Print 5 just mess up everything, and then I lost my job. So I basically start taking notes on the notepad or even a paper note to make sure that I'm not losing all the parameters I was collecting during the calibration. So then when Creality Print 5 did that, I can input and create a new profile from scratch. So this is unbelievably annoying and unproductive. So this is a very, very problematic bug on the Creality Print 5. So now I have to make a personal opinion alert, okay? So, okay, my personal opinion is that Creality Print 5 is not ready to be used by the end users. So if you are not using that yet, I recommend you to go to Orca Slicer. So the only real problem on the productivity matter about Creality Print 4 is that the interface is a little bit different. But if you go to Orca, you basically don't have the same interface and access directly to your printer, like the webcam and comments and send printers, things like that. So you don't need that. Even if you want to use Creality Print 4 just to open your devices, open your printers, and then keep watching and monitoring the print, and then send printings, like generating the G-code on Orca and uploading through the Creality Print 4, even if you want to use the software like that, you still have another option. You still have a browser version for the same interface you have inside Creality Print, even the 4 or 5. What I can see is that the tab device on Creality Print 4 and 5, it's basically a web browser component inside the software that basically opens the same URL you can open directly into your browser. Just get the printer IP, put on your browser, and then you will see the same interface where you can send prints, where you can monitoring the webcam, where you can basically do anything you can do inside the Creality Print software. But using Orca, for example, or even Cura, if you like the Cura interface, I don't like it, but if you like it, using Cura or using Orca or any other slicer software, you can generate G-code and then import and send that G-code through your web browser, or even using the Creality Print. It's a little bit tricky, like it's not so easy like slicing and send to the printer, but you will avoid some irritating situations doing that. And here, one more specific thing, like using Orca, you have more options considering the Creality K1, K1C, and K1 Max profiles. Like on Creality Print 5, you just have the 0.4 millimeters nozzle option. So you just have that option. If you want to set up the 0.6 or 0.8 millimeters, you must create a custom profile and calibrate your printer. So on Orca, you already have inside Orca, the generic slicer, you already have the profiles for K1, K1 Max, K1C for 0.4, 0.6, 0.8 millimeters nozzle. So even Orca, it's more complete than the Creality Print 5, okay? So my personal opinion here, and I must be, as a developer, I must be honest with the Creality developers. The kind of bug that I'm finding inside the software, it's not the developer's fault, okay? So having more than 35 years of experience developing softwares, many different kind of softwares, I know that this is not related to the developer's competence. This is related to process, okay? So even because you can consider how hard it is to migrate an extending layer of a software from Cura core and then input that same layer with the same features into Orca, that it's a completely different core. It's not an easy task. It's not a trivial task. It's not something that a junior developer could do easily. So I know they have good developers inside Creality software department, but they don't have a good QA process. They don't have good tests. They don't have it's basically resumed to the process of quality of the software. And this is not the developer's responsibility. This is the management responsibility. And I don't know how Creality, that it's a hardware factor that makes printers and other products, requires a very well-defined quality assurance process to make sure that the parts will fit together properly, the parts will work properly. They must have process for guarantees, for customer support, everything. I don't know how Creality, having all this knowledge about processes, are doing this with the software. So they should put more effort organizing the software process development, especially the quality assurance process. So I don't know why they are doing this, and I'm sure that Creality it's basically lost in the opportunity to enjoy good features coming from Orca, that it's already a good and stable software from the market, and they are basically importing the bugs they had, and the same bugs that made people crazy with Creality Print 4, they basically import the same problems into Orca and then create more bugs over the Orca platform. So Creality, I know you are watching my videos, so my advice is start over with Creality Print, okay? Start over and start from the basic. Stop trying to do things like link filament profile with printer model. Stop trying to change the software behavior, because if you decide to adopt Orca Slicer as the core, it's because the market it's asking you for that. The market it's telling you use Orca because Orca it's better than what you did with Creality Print 4. Use the same feature, use the same behavior. Start from the basic, start from what works, and then gradually start implementing good features and testing those features with your customers before trying to do something so big, something so unusable. So please start over and try to get to the basic of Orca, because Orca it's already a good software. It's not perfect. No software is perfect, but it's already a good software, and it's already a software that it's well accepted by the market. Okay, so this is my opinion about Creality Print 5, and my recommendation for you that didn't come into the Creality Print 5 yet. Okay, stay on Creality Print 4 if you like it, or if you don't like Creality Print 4, go to Orca directly and send your prints through the browser or even through the Creality Print 4 interface to make it easy to monitor or whatever. But I don't recommend Creality Print 5, at least at this moment, while Creality doesn't apply a good process, a good quality assurance process into their development. Okay, so thank you very much for watching the video till here. I hope you enjoy all the information I bring to you, and if you have any question, please comment here, and don't forget to subscribe to receive the notifications about the new content I'm bringing here on this channel, testing products and testing software, to make sure that you will not put yourself in a bad situation trying to migrate or trying to buy something that doesn't work for you. Okay, so thank you very much. See you on the next video, and let's keep inventing.